Hi YouTube, today I'm going to be changing the valve cover gasket, the spark plugs, and the CAS O-ring on my 1990 Mazda Miata. And there's plenty of good videos on YouTube about how to go about doing those things. So I wanted to make a video showing you the parts and tools that you'll need to complete the job. And if you're like me, you'll appreciate being able to organize everything ahead of time. This way, when you're doing the job, you're not looking for tools, you're not looking for where you put the parts, you have everything laid out in front of you. So I'm hoping to give you an idea of what you should have. So for the valve cover gasket, I recommend buying genuine Mazda parts. That's one of the joys about owning a Mazda is the parts are relatively cheap from the dealer or from online dealers. So I wouldn't try to save a couple dollars and go with some third party aftermarket valve cover gasket. Just if you're gonna do it right, spend an extra couple dollars. So that's the valve cover gasket there. I also have some Zep degreaser that I'll use to clean up the valve cover gasket once I take it off with the scrubby pad. I have toothbrush to get in the grooves where the old valve cover gasket sits, just to clean that up before I put in the new one. A pair of gloves, 10 and 12 millimeter wrenches there, inch foot-pounds and foot-pound torque wrench. Grassroot Motorsports did an article recently comparing torque wrenches, and they found this $20 Harbor Freight torque wrench to be pretty reliable. I've had mine for a little while, and I have no complaints about it. So for $20, you really can't beat it. I also like to write out the torque specs ahead of time. This way, once I'm doing the job, I can just get it done. So for 1990, you'll see there spark plugs, torque specs 11 to 17 foot-pounds or 132 to 204. They say use something on the lower end if you're going to be installing your spark plugs with the copper anti-seize lube on the threads, and I'll let you make that decision. You can read about the debate whether or not you should use it in the forums online. The socket size for spark plugs is a 5/8 socket, and make sure you have an extension for that. Dielectric grease for the boots, it's there along with some Q-tips, and you want to install that sparingly on the inside of the spark plug boots, but again, there's good YouTube videos how to go about doing that. For the spark plugs and the wires, I stuck with NGK, and make sure that you check the gap of the spark plugs too prior to installation. And on there it has the gap size. You can see 0.040 to 0.044. Valve cover bolts, again, torque specs around 60 inch-pounds. You can go on the higher end if you want, but it's anywhere from 43 to 78 inch-pounds. Then have your 10 and 12 millimeter sockets. 6-point sockets I recommend rather than 12. So if you have the 6 points, use those. All right, so that's the valve cover. You're gonna need a couple pairs of pliers to take off hose clamps, razor to scrape off any crud from your old valve cover gasket before you put on your new one, masking tape and Sharpie to label the spark plug wires if you want. This is a gasket maker that you can use on the certain 90-degree bends of the valve cover gasket before you install it on the engine. I recommend also, if you're going to be doing this job, to get parts for your PCV valve too. So if you're going to have the valve cover gasket off, this is a gasket that sits in there for the PCV valve. Then that's the new PCV valve itself, and then this is that little hose that connects the PCV valve across to the, I think it's the intake manifold. Then if you're going to have the valve cover gasket off for a little while, I recommend covering it with some aluminum foil just to make sure that no debris gets in there while the valve cover gasket's off. And for the CAS O-ring, you want to have some little picks or something that you can scrape to mark your timing on that if your timing is properly set. And then I went and I got a package of Viton O-rings, which are supposed to be a little bit more durable, and this was on Amazon. I think it was $10, and it comes with 5 of them. So you can also, if you are okay with using the regular rubber ones, you can find them in like an Ace hardware store for about $1 each. But for an extra couple bucks, these are supposed to be a little bit more durable. So that's that product right there. And that's pretty much everything you need to get the job done. So I hope that helps. And if you have any questions on actually doing the job, there's some great YouTube videos out there. Maybe I can throw some links up in the description below. All right, thanks.